Welcome back to another deep dive into the world of technology and gaming. Today, we're exploring a device that has the potential to redefine how we think about handheld gaming. It's not just another gadget. It's not just another refresh of an old idea. What we're looking at is the ASUS ROG Ally 2, and this is shaping up to be one of the boldest steps ever taken in portable gaming. If you thought the handheld PC market had already reached its limits, think again. What ASUS is preparing could very well change the conversation for years to come. But before we understand why this device matters, let's step back for a moment. Let's look at what came before it, and why many people felt like the story of handheld PCs wasn't complete yet. The first ROG Ally was exciting when it launched. It was sleek, stylish, and for many gamers, it represented the dream of carrying PC-level gaming power in your hands. But soon after the hype, reality set in. The device was good, but not great. It was powerful, yes, but there were compromises. Battery life was shaky, ergonomics weren't perfect, and although it played most games well, it didn't feel revolutionary. Then came the ROG Ally X. This was ASUS's way of saying, "We hear you." The Ally X improved several aspects of the original. It had better battery life, more RAM, a design that felt nicer in the hand, and performance that was reliable. It was a solid step forward, but still, it wasn't groundbreaking. Why? Because it was still powered by the same AMD Z1 Extreme chip, a strong processor, but it didn't bring the leap that gamers were waiting for. Gamers wanted more. They wanted something that didn't just refine the experience, but redefined it. That's where the ROG Ally 2 comes into play. This time, ASUS isn't playing it safe. They aren't simply putting out a slightly upgraded version. They're thinking bigger. They're thinking smarter. And they're splitting the device into two distinct models. This is a bold move because it shows that ASUS finally understands that not all gamers are the same. Some just want a portable system that works, plays games comfortably, and doesn't break the bank. Others want absolute performance, raw power, and the closest thing to a gaming laptop squeezed into a handheld shell. With the Ally 2, both groups are being served. Let's break this down. The first model is what we'll call the white version. This is the device meant for the casual gamer, someone who values portability, simplicity, and affordability. It's light, it's more budget-friendly, and it's still strong enough to handle a large library of titles. Don't mistake this for a watered-down gadget. ASUS isn't treating it like a toy. The white model is expected to carry the AMD Z1 chip, a solid and dependable processor. Now, the Z1 chip isn't designed to crush ultra-demanding AAA titles at the highest settings. That's not its role. Instead, it's aimed at delivering smooth gameplay for indie titles, retro games, and optimized modern releases. Games that don't need extreme horsepower, but still deserve a good, fluid performance. And in this area, the Z1 shines. Think about what that means. For players who want to enjoy classics, platformers, RPGs, or story-driven adventures, this machine is more than capable. It's not trying to win benchmark wars. It's trying to deliver fun without complications. That's a very smart trade-off because it also means the device runs cooler, the battery lasts longer, and the cost stays lower. Competitors like the Lenovo Legion Go or the AY Neo are targeting similar price points. And in this space, performance is not just about frame rates. It's about usability. It's about comfort. It's about how the device fits into your lifestyle. Does it feel natural to pick up and play? Does it make gaming feel seamless rather than stressful? That's where the white model will shine. But then comes the real game changer. The black version of the ROG Ally 2 is where ASUS stops holding back. This is the model that has everyone talking. It's the one that takes portable gaming into a new generation. And the reason is simple. The AMD Z2 Extreme APU built on the cutting-edge Zen 5 architecture. Now, if you're not familiar with those terms, here's what it means in practice. Speed, efficiency, and power like never before in a handheld. The jump from the old Z1 Extreme to the Z2 Extreme isn't minor. We're talking about a performance increase in a range of 15% to 20%, and that's not theoretical. That's performance you will feel the very first time you load into a game. Imagine faster loading times, smoother gameplay, and better heat management. Imagine long boss fights without frame dips, without stutters, without your system struggling to keep up. That's what this chip promises. But it doesn't stop at raw power. The thermal handling is smarter. The fans are quieter. The heat is reduced. That means longer sessions, more comfort, and less distraction. The Ally 2 Black model is designed to stay cool and quiet, even when it's running full throttle. And then there are the specs. The Black version could come with up to 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM. Let that sink in. That's double what the original Ally offered. It's also more than many full-size gaming laptops today. Combine that with up to 4 terabytes of storage, and suddenly you don't just have a gaming device. You have a full portable computing powerhouse. This changes everything. You could store dozens of massive AAA games, entire libraries of indie titles, and still have space left for your media files, mods, or even content creation projects. And because the RAM and storage are faster, it's not just about having room. It's about responsiveness. Games load instantly. Apps open faster. Multitasking feels seamless. Now let's talk about design. The first Ally was thin and flat, almost like a tablet with controls attached. It looked nice, but in long gaming sessions, many players felt the discomfort. The ROG Ally 2 changes that with a chunkier build, deeper grips, and bolder curves. This makes it feel more like an actual game controller in your hands. The difference in comfort is huge. Your fingers wrap around the grips naturally. The weight distribution feels better. Long sessions don't lead to cramped hands. Whether you're on the couch, at the airport, or lying in bed, the device feels balanced. This shows that ASUS listened to real feedback from players. Even the buttons have been rethought. They're tighter, more responsive, and placed more logically. The tactile feel is stronger. The analog sticks feel sturdier. The D-pad has that crisp, precise response that fighting game players demand. These may sound like small details, but for serious gamers, these refinements can make or break the experience. The display remains a 7-inch panel, and that's a smart choice. It's big enough to feel immersive, but small enough to keep the device portable. Keeping the same size also means that accessories you may have bought for the original Ally, screen protectors, cases, stands, will still work. That's a bonus for existing owners. And of course, the display isn't just about size. It's expected to deliver high refresh rates, possibly up to 120 Hz. Paired with the Z2 Extreme chip, this makes gameplay incredibly fluid. Fast-paced titles, shooters, racing games. All of them will look and feel buttery smooth. For many players, this will rival the experience of gaming on a full desktop monitor. Now, let's look at one of the most frustrating aspects of handheld gaming: battery life and charging. ASUS knows this. That's why the Ally 2 supports up to 100W fast charging. This is massive. With just 20 to 30 minutes of charging, you can get hours of gameplay. No more waiting for hours just to get back into your favorite game. Of course, heavier titles will drain the battery faster. That's inevitable. But the new chip architecture helps balance power consumption and performance. Combine that with quick charging, and you're looking at a system that feels almost seamless to use. Perfect for travel, long commutes, or short breaks when you want to dive into a game quickly. One of the most interesting details on the Black model is the dedicated Xbox button. At first, it might seem minor, but it signals something bigger, deeper integration with Microsoft. This could mean a new Xbox-like interface, smoother and more console-like than the traditional Windows 11 UI. Let's be honest, Windows handhelds have always been powerful, but not user-friendly. Navigating small icons, dragging windows, tapping through menus, it all felt clunky. But what if the Ally 2 could boot into a dashboard that feels like a console? Imagine turning it on, seeing your Game Pass titles, your cloud saves, and jumping straight into the action. That's the dream many players have had for years. And now, it looks closer than ever. And what about noise? Fans on handheld devices can be loud, sometimes so low, that they ruin immersion. But with the Z2 Extreme's improved thermal design and ASUS's updates to cooling, the Ally 2 promises quieter operation. That means no sudden whines, no distracting heat spikes, just smooth and immersive gameplay, even late at night in a quiet room. So what's the bigger picture here? ASUS isn't trying to replace your desktop rig. They're not trying to kill your gaming laptop. What they're building is something else entirely, a handheld device that gives you console-quality gaming wherever you are. No cords, no complicated setups, just pick it up and play. And by releasing 2 versions, ASUS is making sure that every type of gamer is included. If you're casual, you can choose the white model. If you're a hardcore enthusiast, the black model gives you the power you crave. No verspending, no compromises, just choice. Let's recap everything from this first section before we move forward. The ASUS ROG Ally 2 comes in 2 versions. The white model for everyday players, affordable and reliable with the AMD Z1 chip. The black model for enthusiasts, packing the brand new Z2 Extreme chip built on Zen 5, with up to 32 gigabytes RAM and 4 terabyte storage. The device brings a new ergonomic design, improved buttons, better grips, balanced weight, and the same 7-inch display with high refresh rates. It supports 100W fast charging, runs cooler and quieter, and even features a dedicated Xbox button that hints at major UI improvements. This isn't just another gadget. It's ASUS making a bold statement. They're not refining the past. They're shaping the future of portable gaming. Now that we've explored what makes the ASUS ROG Ally 2 special, let's zoom out. Specs and features are one part of the story. The other part is about impact. Because when a device like this comes along, it doesn't just change how you play games. It changes how the industry moves. It changes what competitors do next. And it changes what gamers expect from the future. Handheld gaming has always been a space full of experiments. Some succeed, some fail, and a few define generations. Think back. For years, Nintendo dominated this space with the Game Boy, the DS, and later the Switch. They showed the world that people love gaming on the go. But Nintendo never tried to give you full PC power in your hands. That space was left open. For a long time, handheld PCs felt like a niche. AY Neo, GPD, and other smaller companies tried. They made interesting devices, but they were expensive, often hard to find, and not polished enough for the mainstream. Then Valve entered with the Steam Deck, and everything changed. Suddenly, handheld PCs were no longer a hobbyist toy. They were real. They were affordable. They were mainstream. The Steam Deck created a wave. Other companies joined in. Lenovo made the Legion go. MSI tried with their Claw. And ASUS entered with the ROG Ally. But in all these cases, one truth became clear. This market was just getting started. Nobody had perfected the formula yet. That's why the ROG Ally 2 matters so much. ASUS is no longer playing catch-up. With 2 models, better ergonomics, smarter cooling, and deeper Microsoft integration, they're trying to set the standard. They're trying to say, this is what handheld gaming should feel like. But here's the real question. Does it have what it takes to win? Let's start by comparing it to the Steam Deck. Valve's device has one major advantage, the Steam ecosystem. It's simple. You buy a Steam Deck, you sign in, and all your games are there. No fiddling with Windows. No guarda interfaces. It just works. That's a powerful selling point. The Ally 2, on the other hand, runs Windows. That means it has flexibility. You can install Steam, Epic Games, Xbox Game Pass, or even emulators. You're not locked into one ecosystem. But the downside has always been that Windows isn't built for small screens. Navigating menus can feel clunky. This is why that Xbox button we mentioned earlier could be game-changing. If ASUS and Microsoft really deliver a console-like dashboard, the Ally 2 suddenly becomes not just powerful, but also user-friendly. Imagine turning it on and jumping straight into Game Pass without touching a mouse or keyboard. That would remove one of the biggest weaknesses of Windows handhelds. Next, let's talk about the Lenovo Legion Go. Lenovo's device has one unique feature: detachable controllers, similar to the Nintendo Switch. That makes it more versatile, but also bulkier. The Ally 2 doesn't have detachable controllers, but instead focuses on being comfortable, compact, and powerful. For many gamers, that trade-off makes more sense. And then there's MSI's Claw. It runs on Intel hardware instead of AMD. While interesting, early impressions suggested it didn't quite match the efficiency or stability of AMD's chips in handheld form. That gives the Ally 2 an advantage, especially with the new Z2 Extreme chip. In other words, the Ally 2 doesn't just compete. It positions itself as the flagship of Windows-based handhelds. And by offering both a casual white model and a powerful black model, ASUS covers both ends of the market. That's something Valve hasn't done yet. The Steam Deck has different storage options, but not truly different tiers of performance. Now let's think about the gamers themselves. What does this mean for them? For casual gamers, the white model provides something rare, an affordable way to play PC games without worrying about setup or cost. For people who grew up with consoles but want to try PC gaming, this could be the bridge. A simple, portable machine that plays the games they love. For enthusiasts, the black model is like carrying a miniature gaming laptop in your hands. 32 gigabytes of RAM, 4 terabytes of storage, a Zen 5 APU. These aren't numbers you normally see in a handheld. This means serious gamers can take their entire library, mods, and even work applications anywhere. Imagine editing videos, coding, or even streaming from a handheld. That's no longer a fantasy. But we also need to be realistic. No device is perfect. The Ally 2 will face challenges. First, there's the price. We don't know the exact numbers yet, but it's clear that the black model won't be cheap. High-end components come at a high cost. And while enthusiasts may pay, mainstream gamers may hesitate. Price could be the biggest barrier between the Ally 2 and widespread adoption. Second, there's battery life. Yes, the Z2 Extreme is more efficient. Yes, fast charging helps. But let's be honest. If you're playing a demanding AAA game at high settings, the battery won't last all day. That's the trade-off of squeezing this much power into a small device. Third, there's Windows itself. Even with Microsoft's help, Windows is still a desktop operating system. It wasn't designed for handhelds. If the new Xbox-style interface works smoothly, this issue could be solved. But if it doesn't, players may still find themselves frustrated at times. So, what happens if ASUS gets this right? If the Ally 2 delivers on its promises, it could set a new standard for handheld gaming. Other companies will have to respond. Valve may push for a more powerful Steam Deck 2. Lenovo may refine its Legion Go. MSI may rethink its Claw. And smaller brands may either innovate or fade away. Competition will heat up, and gamers will benefit. It also pushes the conversation about cloud gaming. Microsoft, Sony, and NVIDIA have all been experimenting with streaming games over the internet. Devices like the Ally 2 could act as perfect portals for that. With strong hardware for local play and fast Wi-Fi for cloud streaming, players could have the best of both worlds. Another big implication is for travelers and students. Imagine carrying just the Ally 2 instead of a laptop. It could handle schoolwork, entertainment, and gaming. For frequent travelers, it could replace both a console and a laptop. This kind of versatility is what makes the device more than just a gaming toy. Now let's think long-term. Could devices like the Ally 2 replace traditional consoles? Maybe not yet. Consoles like the PlayStation and Xbox are still cheaper and more powerful at their price points. But the gap is shrinking. The Ally 2 proves that portable devices are getting closer to delivering console-level experiences. And that raises another question. What about Nintendo? The Switch has been a huge success, but it's aging. Rumors of a Switch successor have been everywhere. Nintendo has always focused on fun and innovation rather than raw power. But with devices like the Ally 2 offering both fun and power, Nintendo may need to rethink its strategy. Let's also talk about content creators and streamers. A device with this much power, portability, and storage could open new doors. Streamers could broadcast directly from the device. Creators could capture gameplay footage on the go. The Ally 2 could become a tool not just for playing games, but for Mac. ING contend about them. At the same time, ASUS needs to be careful. High expectations can be dangerous. If the device launches with bugs, poor optimization, or overheating issues, the backlash could be strong. Gamers are excited, but also cautious. They've seen overhyped devices fail before. That's why execution matters. ASUS must deliver not just on paper, but in real-world performance. Smooth gameplay, stable software, reliable updates, strong after-sales support. These will determine whether the Ally 2 is remembered as a revolution or just another experiment. But based on what we know so far, the potential is huge. A device with two models, better design, better performance, faster charging, quieter cooling, and deeper Microsoft integration has the power to reshape handheld gaming. So where does this leave us? The ROG Ally 2 isn't just another device. It's a statement that handheld PCs aren't a passing trend. They're here to stay. They're evolving fast, and they may soon stand alongside consoles and gaming laptops as a third pillar of modern gaming. For gamers, this means more choice, more ways to play, more freedom to decide how and where gaming fits into their lives. For the industry, it means more competition, more innovation, and more pressure to think beyond the old models. This is why the ROG Ally 2 feels different. It's not just about a new chip or a new design. It's about timing. It's about ambition. And it's about the idea that gaming should follow you wherever you go without compromise. And that's the story so far. The ASUS ROG Ally 2. One device, two models, endless possibilities. A handheld that doesn't just play games, but changes how we think about gaming itself.